All right, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to our March 1st meeting here on 2022. As we work through this pandemic, we're trying a hybrid meeting here today, so bear with us. There's still some bugs to work out here to try and do both virtual and in person, but we're going to give it a go today, and I'm sure over the next couple of meetings we'll work all the technical issues out. But I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ask everyone to please turn your cell phones off or place them on mute so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'm going to remind council of the declaration of pecuniary interest if that arises. You can declare it now or declare it when if something pops up later. We have minutes here from the regular council meeting on February 15th. I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes if all's in order. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. So our first item on the agenda is planning, and Arya has a report here for our planning assistant with regards to the Jacks Lake Boathouse Prohibition public meeting date. Welcome, Arya.
Through to you, Mayor. Good morning, Council. So the purpose of my report is to present for review of Council background information on the recommended official plan and zoning bylaw amendments, effectively prohibiting the development of on-land boathouses on Jack Lake, as well as to establish April 21st, 2022 as the formal date for the public meeting regarding the proposed amendments. This public meeting is intended to offer members of the public with the opportunity to provide feedback on the proposed amendments and partake in the public consultation process so that the input of the community can be recognized in the adoption of these amendments. The notice attached to my report will effectively outline the formal date of the public meeting, details surrounding the proposed amendments, and information and instructions for members of the public who wish to attend the meeting. This notice will be accompanied by a key map to clarify the specific lands that will be affected by the proposed amendments. Should council choose to adopt the public meeting on April 21st, 2022, it is the Township's recommendation that the formal date be set for that date. It should be further noted that all official plan amendments have to be referred to the County of Peterborough for approval. Therefore, council can choose to adopt the public meeting in April and further decide upon the adoption of the proposed amendments after the public meeting has taken place. That kind of concludes my report to council.
Okay, then. Thank you, Arya. And yeah, this is something that's been around for a long time, and the OP will be done by the county, but there is a process here we can go through. I think there's 3 options here, but maybe you can go through the options again here, and then I'll open up to council. Or Bob, maybe you have the 3 options.
Yes, for you, Mayor Martin. So there are 3 options with respect to this issue. Option number 1 for council is to do nothing and leave everything as is. Option number 2 is to refer the official plan amendment as proposed to the County of Peterborough and their official plan amendment, official plan adoption process. And option 3 is to proceed with the public meeting and consider and hear comments for both the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay, then. All right, then. Thank you. I'm going to open up to council. What's your thoughts here, or what do you want to see us do next here with regards to the boathouse? Anybody got any direction here? Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Well, we've already gone through the process here, and Ari has set a date. I mean, we're always talking about on some of these issues, wanting to hear what the public has to say before we go ahead and make a decision. So I would say, you know, I would like to see us go ahead with the public meeting, get some input from the public. My one question about that is, I see on here it's recommended that it would be a virtual meeting. I don't know. I know things are changing here, I guess, today. I don't know how they're changing, but I was just wondering that if we were going to hold that public meeting, if there was a way that, I don't know, maybe like this meeting, it could be a hybrid, but that people that actually wanted to physically be at the meeting, we could hold a meeting as such. But I'll leave that up to Aria or Bob to maybe comment on that.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the way of the future, is the hybrid style like this. So that'll allow people to come from wherever they are too, especially when it comes to planning. It seems to be working out really well, and I think that might be something that would be added to the public meeting, is if we can work out some of these technical things, if we do them, hybrid. So, if we think we need to have it at a hall, we can do that, or we can go stick it with virtual. Like, a lot of people are still with the planning saying virtual, so you don't have to worry about numbers. But as we get moving through this, I think that can be something we can do with the notice. Over the next couple of weeks, I think things are going to change a little more again. So there might be an opportunity to have it, like we did before at maybe the Lions Hall or somewhere like that, and have both virtual and in person. So I think the next couple of weeks will tell the tale there. But for now, if you're suggesting that we go ahead with this public meeting and get it in motion, I'll look for a motion. But is there any other? So we have a mover for that. Do we have a seconder for that? And then I'll open it up for comments.
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Okay, then, is there any comments or questions from council on where we go next? Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
I'll speak to the motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I really don't, we've had 3 open meetings now pertaining to this. I'm wondering what another meeting is going to do when we're going to have an official plan amendment with Peterborough County. I don't know whether anything's going to change or not. That's just a comment.
Okay. Okay, Bob, you had a comment?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The decision with respect to the type of meeting, I would suggest should be made today, as a notice will need to be sent out in order to give everyone notice of the meeting. So initially, we proposed a virtual meeting simply to allow everyone from distance to be part of it. So it wouldn't create any issues with them. We could certainly attempt to do a hybrid meeting. We're testing that today to see how it goes, but we could certainly try that. But that decision will need to happen today so we can get our mailing out.
So probably to keep it simple, Bob, what some municipalities are doing is they do an appointment for the in-person people that want to come, and the overflow would go into the virtual side of it. With the setup that we have in the office, that might be the easiest way to do it, is come up with a number that's safe for the office as far as whatever we're capable of for capacity, and then the overflow would be virtual. I think a lot will do virtual anyways, like you say. It's going to be from all over the place, and that's one of the good things about this, is they can access it from wherever they are. So would that work then, if that was a part of the motion, Bob, that that we do an appointment for the in-person up to a number? We'll come up with a number of capacity, and then the rest would be virtual?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, we could certainly accommodate that suggestion. We could receive in-person delegations by appointment.
Okay, would that work, Councillor Webb, for the mover?
No, yeah, that would be fine with me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Giroux, are you okay with seconding that? Did you second that? Oh, no, sorry, it was Councillor Ellis. Would you be okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that, Deputy Mayor, or Mayor Martin. Thank you.
All right, then. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any questions or comments? Like Deputy Mayor Giroux says, we have been through the process. I don't know what it's going to accomplish, but we will be hearing from the people again, and maybe it'll be a clearer picture coming out of that. So that's all I could see from it. So is there any other comments or questions before I call the question? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So all in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll set that up, and we'll get the notification out and see what we can do forward. So our next item on the agenda is delegations, and we have Chris Kowalik here from Community Development Program. Welcome, Chris. I don't see you here, but I'm sure you'll pop up here in a minute.
Might be on the second screen
There you
there,
are.
Martin. Okay.
Thank you. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you for having us. I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation ready to go. Hopefully you can see that okay. So thank you, Mayor Martin and members of council for the opportunity to give you an update and to have an opportunity to receive feedback from council regarding the community safety and well-being plan. I'm joined today by Christy Nash. She's a member of the consulting team that's working on this plan. She's with the Rising Collective, and she's going to be participating and giving part of this presentation as well. You may notice this first slide's a little different from the one that was circulated earlier. 3 townships decided to withdraw from the collaboration of preparing this plan as a full city county. So Autonomy South Monaghan, Cavan Monaghan, and Asphodel Norwood decided to prepare their own plan outside of this process that was decided about a month ago. Happy to answer any questions about that at the end if council wishes. The purpose for today is to give an overview of the community safety and well-being plan as the process evolves, overview of the engagement plan, review what we've heard to date, opportunities for engaging locally, and to request support and participation from yourselves as well, obviously. The purpose of the plan, just as a reminder that the purpose of this plan is where Peterborough is a place where everyone is safe, included, and part of a community. What we're trying to change is that we work together in new ways. We're already working together with many agencies and organizations, but looking at new ways to address safety and well-being issues through programs and services that are available to all Peterborough residents in the city and the county. We formed an advisory committee. We've been meeting for almost a year now, represented from each of the townships and a cross-section of agencies and local groups. The values and guiding principles that we've been following, we want to align with other plans. We're not looking to duplicate the work that's already been done. We want to align with those plans and boost them where we can. Strive for equity, participation of those with lived experience, act collaboratively, use evidence-informed decision-making, and prepare for ongoing evaluation of this plan. Through our work, we prioritize these 6 risk factors around mental health, poverty and income, housing and homelessness, transportation and mobility, addictions, substance use, employment, and education. These are the ones that are the most pressing at this time that the advisory committee has been moving forward with, and that we have been working on our consultation around focusing on these. The stage that we're at right now is we're identifying strategies to address these issues. We will be, as mentioned earlier, setting measurable outcomes and monitoring as well. The point we're at now is around the community engagement component. We do have a town hall meeting scheduled for the 22nd of this month, a combined one with Havelock-Belmont-Methuen along with Dummer and North Kawartha. Separate one is going to be happening with Selwyn and Trent Lakes. So this is the timeline that we are working on, and it is our full intention to have this plan in front of this sitting council for their consideration before the municipal elections are set in motion. I'd like to turn it over to Christy Nash now to continue with the presentation.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Chris, and thank you, Mayor and Council. As part of your package, we included an engagement plan for the Community Safety and Wellbeing Project. The purpose of engagement activities is to both educate about the plan itself and also to gather meaningful insights for a variety of stakeholders who have interest in the plan and are also impacted by the plan. We use the spectrum of public participation as a guide to develop a scaffolding approach to engagement to seek input from different stakeholder groups at various stages of the project, depending on their level of knowledge, awareness, interest, impact of the information we are asking them to provide. So you will note that we have identified 6 different phases of engagement. And given our timeline, we are currently engaged in phases 3, 4, and 5 simultaneously, and intend to complete these phases of engagement by the end of March 2022. At which point we will move from gathering insights into identifying outcomes and strategies to be included in the plan in April of 2022. And as Chris mentioned, our hope is to complete the plan ideally in the summer of 2022. You will note that phase 3 is dedicated to public consultation. And as part of this phase, we are in the final stages of edits on an online survey, which will be hosted on Connect Peterborough. Our hope is that it will be launched either later this week or early next week, and it will be open for 3 weeks. And we would love to have your support in promoting the survey throughout the township and within your networks. As Chris mentioned, additionally, on March 22nd and March 23rd, we'll be hosting online town hall meetings to gather insights from the general public. And similar to the survey, we would appreciate your support in promoting these events to ensure active participation. Next slide, please, Chris. Thanks. As part of this presentation, we wanted to share with you some of the high-level findings of our phase 2 engagement with service providers. As part of your package, we have included the results of 8 focus groups that we conducted with service providers in November 2021 and February 2022. We connected with a total of 73 service providers across sectors to hear insights and experiences, opportunities and challenges related to the 6 identified risk and priority areas that Chris noted earlier. Next slide, please, Chris. You will see in this 45-page report that we gathered a significant amount of information that relate to all areas of the CSWB framework, including social development, prevention, risk intervention, and incident response. There was strong agreement that collaborative approaches are required to address the complex issues our community face, most notably in the areas of housing and homelessness, mental health, addictions and substance use, and poverty and income. Next slide, please. Well, there was alignment on many of the issues and opportunities our community faces. Common themes that arose across all risk and priority areas include the importance of community awareness and engagement on issues such as harm reduction and stigma, the importance of defining common agendas and improving collaboration both across sectors, interorganizationally and intergovernmentally, and the need for identifying common indicators to measure progress, collect data, and share knowledge. Advocacy for increased and sustainable funding across all levels of government and funding bodies, the opportunity to create and deliver inclusive programs and services, and enhanced and new coordinated approaches for rural communities. Next slide, please. Well, there's a great deal of alignment of priorities across the city and county. A number of county-specific opportunities and challenges were identified. Some of the challenges that were identified include lack of access to services in rural areas. Barriers to accessing services include lack of transportation and access to the internet, and lack of affordable housing and monitoring homelessness. Some of the opportunities that were identified include increased mobile units, community hubs, new transportation services, and new options for housing. Next slide, please. As we feel it is important to highlight the unique circumstances of each township, we have included on the slide an example of how Windsor highlighted townships in its plan. Our intention is to include in the plan a 1 to 2 page overview of each township that highlights the demographic data and unique outcomes or objectives that have been highlighted as priorities through these delegations, the public survey, and the town halls, as I noted earlier. Next slide, please. So that concludes our formal presentation. I just will turn it back over to you, Chris, to see if you'd like to add anything else.
I guess I should unmute myself, sorry. I don't have anything else to add. We're more than happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Chris. And yeah, I would be interested to hear why the other ones got out of this. It's one of those things I know in the county, you always wonder with the farther you get away from the city, you know, how much benefit it'll be, but there's a lot of good things in here that would save us duplicating. What would be the reason for the three to get out? At first, I thought it's because they're away from the city, but when Trent Lakes is still in it in North Fourth, you know, it just kind of changes my thoughts there. So,
well, when we started this collaborative process, one of the concerns that all townships raised is, you know, making sure that the urban issues don't overshadow the rural issues, and we're committed to that principle and that priority. In late last year, you may recall many social issues, certainly around housing, homelessness, addictions. The shelter at 210 Wolf Street became a very volatile issue in our community and with council. It was at that time we expanded the scope of the project and extended the timeline for completing the project. This, I believe, was interpreted by those three townships as the opposite of, you know, seeing urban issues affecting the outcome of this plan. The increased budget came completely out of city funds. It wasn't part of the county contribution to this project. And we're still committed to making this reach councils during this sitting, which was a bit of an unknown at that particular time as we were trying to define the expanded scope and the expanded work that we were going to include in the project. And fortunately, they withdrew before all those details were known. So that's my understanding, to my knowledge, and is where we sit right now. We're moving forward with our plan with the remaining 5 townships and engaging as we always had intended to engage.
okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Webb had a question there.
No, that was my question, Jim. Yeah, I was just wondering on top of that, moving forward, since we only have 5 of the 8, I guess, left, in terms of a plan for the community, is it going to be cohesive if we have the other 3 making their own plans, or, you know what I mean? Are we going to end up with 5 or 6 different communities well-being plans here is kind of what I'm like. How are we going to maintain focus on what we're trying to accomplish when we've got, especially our neighbors, you know, going down a different road?
Through you, Mayor Martin. There will likely be 2 plans. I believe, I could be corrected, that the 3 of them are going to make a group plan together as neighbors. I will be having this work on my work plan as part of the implementation process, which we will have a strategy for implementing. I have no doubt that some of the priorities that those 3 townships identify will align with the plan that we are developing, in a similar way that, you know, some rural issues align with urban issues, but there will be differences. It will be our strategy to, you know, apply for funding where necessary or where we need to or where we can see those opportunities. And when I'm doing that, I will invite those other 3 to participate if they desire, or we will move forward with a collaborative effort, because as I mentioned and Christy mentioned, the number of agencies and we'll be working with police boards, city and county. You know, there's restructuring going on in the rural police service boards, so those collaborations will continue, and we'll do our best to have joint work where we can, but it doesn't preclude them or us from applying for funding or looking for resources independently.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I can see, like, I'm glad to see you had a county-specific slide here, because we are different in the county as far as the rural areas, but there's some things here that I would really hope that we keep hearing about, and that's transportation and some increased mobile units. So I think that's going to be the key to make this succeed, is to try and, you know, help us out in the rural areas. And like I say, transportation and community hubs are a big thing to keep us in the loop. So so I see the good things in it, and I guess it's something that it's up to council here, but I would think we would continue on. Sorry, Larry had a comment. It's hard to see that one screen there. It's a little small. So if I'm not answering, you just speak up, and I'll do my best to acknowledge it. Go ahead, Larry.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the group for their presentation here. They've definitely identified the needs, and as Mayor Martin indicated, some support in the rural areas, which is much needed. I guess the one thought that came to my mind as I listened to your presentation was, is there a great duplication more directed into the city by this plan? Is it being duplicated? Or is it duplicating plans that you have in place in the city, for example?
Through you, Mayor Martin. The hope is, the plan is to align with the plans that already exist, say the 10-year housing and homelessness plan, the age-friendly plan, the variety of plans that do exist both in the city and the county. We want to align with them. In some other jurisdictions across the province, they've been using these plans as a bit of an umbrella strategy that brings those other ones together. It was acknowledged quite early on, and I think we all can recognize that you know, the focus of this plan is really leaning towards those human services. You know, when you're talking about poverty, addictions, homelessness, and those sort of things, and working for those folks that are marginalized to improve you know, their community well-being. That those factors can't be looked at in isolation, and that folks that are dealing with homelessness need to engage with those that are dealing with it, folks dealing with addictions issues or mental health issues or poverty issues or mobility issues or accessibility issues. So we have them all at the table. We're engaging with them all, and the strategies moving forward will rely on them collaborating into the future. Because they are already working, and I hate to say it, but you know, everybody talks about breaking down the silos, and you know, folks digging their heels when funding is contingent on, you know, meeting your, say, specific addiction issues or addiction programs or harm reduction programs, but ignores the mental health side or the homelessness side or the poverty side. That we have these folks around the table, and the challenge will be working together in combined efforts. And that's where, you know, working together differently has to be the priority and not more of the same, because we've been making progress, you know, on the homelessness side. People are getting housed, but more and more people are hitting hard times and becoming homeless or becoming precariously housed. So that's where that cross-sectoral focus needs to be placed and recognized.
Okay, well, thank you. So is there any other questions? So coming out of today, what would be the resolution we'd be looking for? Is to continue on working with you, or?
Well, it's an update presentation. I'm going based on, I received a letter from the other 3 townships, you know, recognizing their withdrawal from the process. I'm moving forward that the other 5 are fully on board, including yourselves. But, you know, one of the also purposes of today is to hear from you. There have been some comments about some of the priorities, which are consistent, but will be looking at every opportunity, including this delegation, to hear from council and your priorities, if they haven't been already mentioned during our discussion here.
Okay. All right. Like I say, my big thing there was the transportation thing keeps popping up in everything we look at. That's one of the issues in the rural areas. But so does council have any other questions? Other than that, I guess we would just receive the delegation today and continue moving forward. So is there any other questions? I can't see the little screen. If anybody in the chamber has a question, just speak up. If not, I'll look for a motion to receive. Councillor Webb, go ahead.
I was just making a motion to receive you.
Okay, thank you. So moved by Councillor Webb that we receive the delegation. Do you have a seconder for that? And seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, Chris, thank you. And we'll continue moving forward here.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank
So,
you.
Okay. All right. So we'll move into the next delegation here. And our next delegation is Aqua. And Amber, I don't know who's with you there. Maybe you can introduce who's with you. And I want to thank you for the report that you did here, Amber. It's really well done. And I think it addresses the most of our concerns as far as, moving forward and the sewage treatment and things like that. So it's really well done, and the timelines on it kind of work with what we're looking at. If a developer was to come in here tomorrow, these timelines would work with whatever comes forward. So thank you very much for all the work that went into that, and I'm looking forward to hearing it here.
Thank you. I'll just start by saying good morning, Mayor Martin, Deputy Mayor Giroux, councillors and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to attend council today in person and virtually through my colleagues. It's nice to see faces. This morning, the Ontario Clean Water Agency, excuse me. This morning, the Ontario Clean Water Agency and SEMA, who is the consulting engineer, will be presenting our first of many public information center presentations for the wastewater system Class EA. I'll begin with introductions to the team. It's a big group, so please bear with me. It's a big project, so I wanted to include all parties today. Just to start off, my name is Amber Copeland. I'm the operations manager for the Havelock water and wastewater facilities. I'm also the project lead for Aqua. Beside me, I have Brad Robinson, who's the duty operator for the Havelock wastewater system. I think combined, I'm 17 years, and I think he's 8 years into working with Aqua. I was going to go around the table, but I think I'm just gonna, okay, I'll do it this way. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out, I can't see everyone virtually. So Karen Lorente, with a great background. She's my new regional manager. She's replaced Cindy Spencer, recently retired. She's been with Aqua for 19 years. I have next is Natalie Colantonio. Thanks. She's the project engineer for the Class EA system. Wes Henneberry, also from Aqua. He's the safety process and compliance technician, and he's a project team lead with me on the Class EA system. And then I'll start introducing SEMA. So I have Mina Youssef, if you could wave, thanks. He's the senior project manager for infrastructure on the Class EA system for Havelock. And last but not least is Erin Longworth. She is the manager for the wastewater planning and infrastructure. She's actually the one I will be turning this over to, as we have created a pre-recorded public information center, and she's going to be presenting it.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Amber, for the introduction, and thank you, Mayor and councillors, for having us today. We're looking forward to presenting the information that we've developed so far on the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant Class EA project. I wanted to start, I noticed in the council agenda package that it appears that some of the information from the PDF slides that we had provided might have been distorted there. So if that's the case in your version, we'll definitely provide a complete version following this so that you have all the information. But we will be playing the pre-recorded Public Information Center information that will be available to the public starting on Thursday on your township website. I did also just want to note the notice of Public Information Center that is included in your council package does list a date for comments to be received by March 24th, but we've since extended that to April 21st to allow publication of the notice in the Havelock Rail as well, to enable people to have more time to provide any comments that they might have on the project. Okay, so with that said, I will share my screen here and play the pre-recorded Public Information Center presentation. It's just under 20 minutes long, so bear with me as I get this going here.
Hello and welcome to the first Public Information Center for the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant Schedule C Municipal Class Environmental Assessment, or Class EA study. My name is Renita Banerjee, and I will be presenting on behalf of SEMA Plus, the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, and the Ontario Clean Water Agency, also known as AQUA. SEMA Plus was the consultant selected by the Township and AQUA to complete the Class EA study for this project. Public Information Center 1 for the study is being held to introduce the project, provide background information on the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant and the need for infrastructure upgrades, describe the Class EA study process and the steps taken to date and in the future phases of the project, answer any questions about the study, and provide an opportunity to get involved in the project. Before we begin, some housekeeping notes. This video will be available on the Township's website as of March 3rd, 2022. On the Township's website, there is a transcript of my narration of this presentation and a PDF copy of the slides. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to Amber Copeland from AQUA or Erin Longworth from SEMA Plus. Contact information for these project leads is in this presentation. Alternatively, you could fill out a comment form provided on the Township's website and submit it to the project team. So why are we here? The main objectives of this virtual Public Information Center are to provide an understanding of why the project is being undertaken, provide information on the Class EA decision-making process, the preliminary alternatives being considered, and the preliminary preferred solution for providing additional wastewater treatment capacity for the village of Havelock. And finally, to provide an opportunity for the public to provide their input on the project. Public consultation and engagement are integral to municipal Class EA studies. We are holding this session to provide the public with opportunities to learn more about the municipal Class EA process being followed. Activities completed to date and a preliminary preferred solution will be presented at this session. As mentioned, background information, including this presentation, is available on the Township's website for your review. An online comment form is also available on the website for your use. We look forward to your feedback. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen has one wastewater treatment plant that receives wastewater from homes and businesses in the urban areas of the village of Havelock and hauls septage from the rural areas within the township. The Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant ensures that wastewater is fully treated before clean effluent is returned to Plato Creek. There are two main purposes of this study. First, in order to support population growth in the village of Havelock up to the year 2041, additional wastewater servicing capacity needs to be planned for the Havelock system. The second purpose is to identify and recommend the preferred infrastructure improvements to accommodate the required capacity increase while minimizing impacts on the natural and socio-cultural environments, as well as considering technical and financial implications. More details will be provided regarding the wastewater treatment process and the population projections in the subsequent slides. A Schedule C Municipal Class EA follows the 5 main steps shown in the diagram. The first step involves reviewing background information and establishing the problem or opportunity statement. A notice of study commencement is issued at this stage. The notice of commencement for this project was issued to the project stakeholders in August of 2021. The next step involves brainstorming ways to address existing concerns, reviewing the study area, evaluating options that address the problem statement, and recommending the preliminary preferred solution. Information developed through this step is presented at the first Public Information Center, and input is sought from all of the public stakeholders to incorporate to the next stage of the project, which is what is being done today through this presentation. In the next stage, design concepts are developed to implement the preferred solution. Design concepts are evaluated based on their impacts and mitigation measures, and the results of this step, including the evaluation process and preliminary preferred design concept, are then presented at the second Public Information Center. This is currently planned for spring or summer of 2022. Once the preliminary preferred design concept has been confirmed via input from the public, a report called the Environmental Study Report is compiled to document the results of the EA. The report will be made available for public review for a minimum of 30 days. The study is anticipated to be completed in the summer or fall of 2022. Following the completion of the Class EA process and subsequent approval of the project implementation phase includes detailed design of the recommended design concept and construction. This is currently planned for 2023 to 2025. The Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant is located at 719 Old Norwood Road. It services the village of Havelock, shown as the shaded area in the figure to the right. The plant was built in 2009 and has a current rated capacity of 1,200 cubic meters per day. An overall study area, outlined in red, was identified at the beginning of the project to define the area on the existing treatment plant site for potential future infrastructure. The study area image shows the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant, marked in the yellow star, and 2 adjacent lagoons which previously provided wastewater treatment for the community. The lagoons were decommissioned when the new Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant was built in 2009. The study area also includes the access road from Old Norwood Road leading up to the treatment facility. This slide provides an overview of the treatment processes utilized at the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant. Wastewater enters the facility through a raw sewage pumping station, which pumps the wastewater to the headworks building. A septage receiving facility is located adjacent to the pumping station, which receives wastewater in the form of hauled septage from the rural population in Havelock and transfers it to the pumping station. At the headworks building, the wastewater is passed through screen and grit removal processes before it can enter the main treatment process, which is the sequencing batch reactors, referred to as SBRs. SBR is a form of biological wastewater treatment which uses microbes to digest the wastewater. In this system, wastewater is added to a single batch reactor, treated to remove undesirable components, and then discharged to the next step. The process takes advantage of microorganisms that can digest organic matter in sewage and clump together by flocculation as they do so. It thereby produces a liquid that's relatively free of suspended solids and flocculated particles that can be readily settled out and removed. Reaction with microbes is facilitated by a fine bubble aeration system run by blowers. An equalization tank is located next to SBRs. The main purpose of this tank is to prevent short-term surges during high flow conditions. From here, the wastewater is transferred to the tertiary filters for further treatment. The tertiary filters employ sand filtration technology combined with chemical precipitation. A coagulant is added at this step to expedite the precipitation process and further remove solids from the wastewater. Filtered wastewater is treated for bacteria and viruses via ultraviolet reactors before the clean effluent is discharged to Plato Creek. The SBRs also contain sludge pumps, which transfer waste solids to a sludge digester to be stabilized. Processed sludge is pumped from the sludge digester to a biosolids holding tank, where it can be stored temporarily before being hauled away. In order to establish the needs for this project, it was important to understand the growth projections and associated wastewater design flows anticipated for the township. Planned growth was identified in the Havelock South development area, which includes 3 phases of residential homes, the Peterborough housing development, and the Havelock long-term care facility. Additional growth was also forecasted to approximately 2,400 people over a 20-year planning period to provide some flexibility to the township for future growth and wastewater treatment. The current rated capacity of the Havelock wastewater treatment plant, 1,200 meter cube per day, is shown as a blue bar on the chart. The projected capacity required to accommodate the future population, 1,580 meter cube per day, is shown in orange. The red line in the middle of the chart represents the current average day flow of approximately 950 meter cube per day. Typically for water and wastewater systems, the need to initiate planning for upgrades or expansion is triggered when the treatment plant reaches 75 to 80% of the rated capacity, as is the case with the Havelock wastewater treatment plant. The problem or opportunity statement is defined at the initial phase of the Class EA process based on the identified needs of the project. The 3 main driving factors for the study are population forecasts in terms of growth within the township to the year 2041. The Havelock wastewater treatment plant, which services the community, is nearing its rated capacity and would not be able to accommodate the additional population. And need for long-term recommendations to meet future growth servicing requirements, maintain high treatment standards, and meet current best practices for wastewater treatment. Selecting the preferred solution follows the procedure required for Schedule C Municipal Class EA. The first step is to identify and screen alternative solutions. At this stage, a long list of potential solutions to the problem statement are developed. These are screened against must-meet criteria, which represent crucial requirements of the project. Must-meet criteria in this case are compliance, the ability of the alternative solution to meet the requirements of the future population in the year 2041, and technical feasibility, the ability of the alternative solution to maximize use of existing infrastructure in Havelock. Alternate solutions that did not satisfy the must-meet criteria were eliminated from further consideration because they did not meet the core requirements of the project. The screening results, described in more detail in slide 12, indicate that expand the existing Havelock wastewater treatment plant is the preliminary preferred alternative. This preliminary preferred alternative will be confirmed through input received from project stakeholders, including the public through this PIC, and carried forward for further consideration in the next phase of the study. The next step is to develop alternative design concepts to implement the preliminary preferred solution. These design concepts provide various options to execute the preferred solution. A set of detailed evaluation criteria are shown in the next slide, which are used to score each of the design concepts. The option with the highest score is recommended as the preferred design concept. The preferred design concept will be confirmed through public and stakeholder input at a second PIC. The chart on this slide shows the detailed evaluation criteria, which will be used to evaluate the alternative design concepts. The primary categories include sociocultural, natural environment, technical, and economic. The proposed weightings of each of the categories represent the relative importance of that category in the context of this project. For this project, all 4 categories have been weighed equally. However, this can be modified based on feedback from the PIC. Specific factors were considered within each of the 4 criteria categories. Factors related to socio-cultural criteria included health and safety, aesthetic and operational impacts such as visual impacts, odor and noise, construction impacts, public perception, land use, property acquisition, archaeological and cultural heritage considerations. Factors related to the natural environmental criteria included effluent receiving water body assessment, sensitive natural features and regulated areas, and climate change considerations. Factors related to technical criteria included operational complexity, ease of implementation, redundancy and flexibility, energy efficiency, constructability, and regulatory approvals. Finally, life cycle cost derived from capital, operation, and maintenance costs were considered as part of economic criteria. Impacts and mitigation measures will be evaluated for each alternative based on the evaluation criteria. The results of screening the long list of alternative solutions are shown on this slide. The 6 options that were considered include do nothing, limit community growth, reduce influent infiltration, also called I&I, expand the existing Havelock wastewater treatment plant, construct a new wastewater treatment plant on the existing site, construct a new wastewater treatment plant on a new site. Do nothing and limit community growth were eliminated because they did not meet the compliance criterion of meeting the servicing requirements for future population growth. Option 5 and 6, construct a new wastewater treatment plant, on or off-site both require major new infrastructure and were eliminated because they did not meet the technical feasibility criterion of maximizing existing infrastructure. Option 3 involves reducing infiltration of stormwater into the wastewater collection system. Historically, high I&I has contributed to high influent flows at the Havelock wastewater treatment plant. Control measures have already been implemented and are showing improvement in reducing extraneous flows to the sanitary sewer system. This option is not recommended as a standalone solution, but is recommended to be included as part of a preferred solution, whereby the township continues to implement the I&I control measures. Option 4, expand the existing Havelock wastewater treatment plant, met the compliance and technical feasibility must-meet criteria, and is being recommended as the preliminary preferred servicing solution for this Class EA study. The next step in the Class EA process include the following. The first step is to conduct additional supporting studies to gather input for detailed evaluation. These studies include a detailed natural environment inventory, archaeological and cultural heritage assessments, and a receiving water assessment for Plato Creek. The receiving water assessment study will determine the acceptable maximum levels of nutrients and other parameters that can be safely discharged to the creek to protect human and aquatic health. The second step is to develop and evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of the design concepts. Alternative design concepts include, as a minimum, re-rate the plant capacity to achieve additional capacity with existing infrastructure, use one or both of the existing lagoons for flow equalization, and expand the mechanical plant using existing or new technologies. Further details regarding these design concepts will be developed and evaluated in the next project stages, and the preliminary preferred design concept will be presented at the second PIC for public and stakeholder input. Thank you for participating in this virtual Public Information Center for the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant Schedule C Municipal Class Environmental Assessment. Please submit any questions or comments that you may have by email or phone to Amber Copeland or Erin Longworth before April 21st, 2022. Amber Copeland is Aqua's Operations Manager and Project Manager. Amber can be reached by phone at 613-472-2131 extension 3 or via email at acopeland@aqua.com. Erin Longworth is the Consultant Class EA Lead with SEMA Plus. Erin can be reached by phone at 519-772-2299 extension 6250 or via email at erin.longworth@sema.ca. On behalf of the entire project team, thank you for your interest in this project and for participating in this Public Information Center.
Okay. So that concludes our pre-recorded video session for the Public Information Center. And we are definitely open to any questions you might have for us at this time. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well done. And like I said, it's the timelines seem to work here. Other than there is no room for any hiccups either, though. So we have to keep moving on the course that you have here. But I'll open it up to council. Is there any questions from council with regards to today's presentation? Go ahead, Barry. Council Pomeroy.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The population growth. You know, if you're going to build this, would you not? To me, it's not large enough. If we get the influx like Norwood had or Hastings, it only doubles. And we don't have any buffer, and you'd be right back to square one again in a few years. The way that the growth is taking off around us, if it's any indication, I don't know where we get, 2,400 being serviced as a max when we see what, we see Marmora, Havelock. Marmora hasn't got a big input, but Norwood and Hastings have had quite an influx. So that's one of my concerns. And the other one is, it seems like some of these solutions, they should already be there, like public input. We want it. That should be a no-brainer. And aesthetic operating impacts, visual. We know where we are. We're out in the country. Odor, construction impacts. That's no problem. Public precipitation, we need it. Real estate, we own 100 acre, not 100 acres, but they're close. That's no problem. And the cultural heritage features, that shouldn't be any problem. I'm just wondering how we could speed this process up, because to me, there's a lot of things that have already taken place. And all we're doing is adding a population to it. I want to make sure that the plant's big enough when we do it, not just build it for a said population. And then down the road, if we had a big boom here in 5 years, then we're looking at it again. I realize it isn't an easy problem, but I know you've got the part of the solution is going back to the lagoons for holding the wastewater. The only thing that I can see that might be difficult is the discharge into Plato Creek, with all this information. But as far as the rest of it, I don't know. I'm not involved in it. I'm not an engineer. I'm just trying to be practical, and we should have started a year sooner than what we have. I was under the impression we started it in January of 20 for an EA, but anyway, I guess we didn't, and we're caught up dragging our own feet here. But is there any way that we can speed this process up even a wee bit? Because, like it'd be 2025 before basically that it's complete. And what could we do for, the next 3, well, even take a year off of that? What can we do for to boost our economy and our growth in the municipality of HPM.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know if that's to Aaron or Amber. I don't know who can answer that, but I'll leave it to either one of you.
Okay, so there were questions there. So I'll start with the population piece, I guess. So we based that on the Havelock South development area growth that we know of that can be quantified. And then we added additional population on that to give a bit more flexibility. I think the concern is that we kind of need to have well-documented numbers. So just kind of saying, you know, we need additional capacity beyond that is somewhat difficult to quantify and justify. And the other aspect of that you did mention is the discharge to Plato Creek is going to be somewhat limiting on the flow and the parameters that can be discharged. So there would be a limitation there potentially on the increased capacity that could be provided at this plant. So those are some considerations there for the population. I don't know if Mina, if you had any other thoughts on that as well, or I can move on to the evaluation criteria question as well.
Right. No, I think you covered it, Erin. Just the other thing to add on top of it. So we did consider the population, the known population projections from the Havelock South development, and we added a buffer on top of that, you know, assuming constant growth for the next 20 years. Assuming a larger population than that could also result in, you know, operational challenges at the plant. Having an oversized plant with little flow, a lot less flow going to it will not cause the plant to run as efficiently as it should be, and could result in, you know, more energy and more maintenance costs associated with that. So the solution or the projections that we've sort of developed through the EA looks at the known population projections and then adds a buffer on top of it, which we feel is should be sufficient to get the plant going for at least the next, let's say, 10, 15 years.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Dro, you had something?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the project team for their work here. Going through it on the weekend, I found it interesting, but your presentation this morning, your video or whatever you want to call it, we had was in layman's terms, was very well done. When you come to your screening recommendations, I felt that was very, very forward and understandable. And as far as the timelines, I think they fit myself. I'm not gonna, for me, I personally, I don't want to rush into something and without knowing all the facts before we move forward. So it'd be great to start tomorrow, but that's not possible in my eyes. So that's just my comments. I want to thank the team for the job done thus far. Thank you.
Okay, so I think to go along with that and Councillor Pomeroy, you know, these timelines to me work as far as we don't have any plans of subdivision so far, and even if one came along tomorrow, they're 3 to 5 years out before they can even start to put a shovel in the ground. And then lately at the county, we've been going over our growth plans, and I've been watching the numbers, and as much as Norwood and other areas are growing, even going out quite a ways, probably your numbers are pretty close. It's hard to believe, like when we do see the growth with our neighbors, but we don't show a lot of growth, you know, and I don't know how they project those numbers, but I think it's something to keep an eye on. But to go along with Councillor Pomeroy, these dates work, but we don't have any room for any hiccups. We need to stay on track here, and if we can speed it up a little bit, that would be even better. But That being said, there is a process you've laid out here, and I think, it will all work in the end. So Dave's got his hand up there, I think, or he's clapping, or anyways, I'm just getting used to those ones. So
Through you again, Mr. Mayor, I think when we talk about growth, we seem to, because we're not putting 300 homes in the field, doesn't mean to say we don't have growth. We have a tremendous amount of lakes here with a lot of growth on them. So we have to take that into consideration also. They also use the wastewater treatment plant. So it's all together. The growth is all together. So we have to do it correctly. So thank you.
okay, all right then. And I see Councillor Pomeroy has his hand up. Larry, if you have anything, like I say, I can't see you 100%. So if you speak up, that's fine. But go ahead, Councillor Pomeroy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The other problem we have right now is we can't receive too much septage from our septic haulers at our present plant. So, and it's Deputy Mayor Giroux said, we have 10 lakes surrounding us, and we do have, I would hope that we could allow for more septage to be received than say 20 loads a year. Like that's cutting it pretty short. And what the way the government works, they don't want the ministry, they don't want the septage put on farmland anymore, or it's regulated so they can only use so much. So that's just another little problem that I feel that we have in our area.
Okay, thank you. So I think, it's all laid out here. The timelines are there. And I think, like Councillor Pomeroy said, we don't want to slip any here. So we need to keep it moving. And so I'm going to look to council. What motion would you need for today, Bob? As far as I'm sure it's to support this and keep it moving, but go ahead, Bob.
Yep, through you, Mayor Martin, the motion will be to support the process as presented and proceed with the Public Information Center, which will be presented on our website beginning March 3rd. And it will be advertised in local papers. It will see at least 3 advertisements to support public participation.
Okay, all right then. So what's council's thoughts there? Somebody want to move that exactly what Bob said? I'm not going to repeat it. Go ahead, Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to what Bob said if I could hear him, but we're going to have to hear that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And Larry, did you second it?
I can second that motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Did you want to repeat it once more time, Bob? I know you probably don't have it wrote down, but
Well, we're in process of writing it down. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
yeah.
Okay. So the motion is to support the presentation and the process as received today, and to support the public information centers as presented, which will commence March 3rd on our township website. We will also be advertising at least 3 times in local publications to encourage public participation.
That was longer than the first one, but thank you, Bob. Okay, so we have the motion. We have a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions around the motion? If not, I'm going to call the question. Okay, all in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, thank you everyone for the delegation. Good information, and let's keep her moving. That's the big thing here. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right then. So that being said, we'll move into our next report here, and it's staff report for information. The first report there was, I'll let the delegation leave and then we'll carry on.
Amber, I'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right then, so our next is staff reports for information, and we have a report here from the fire chief with regards to incident summary for January 2022. If there's no questions around that, I'll look for a motion to receive it. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Receive it with thanks.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux that we receive it with thanks and seconded by Councillor Webb. Any questions around the motion or comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next item here is the report that Bob did with regards to the summary of the grant submissions. Well done, Bob. I'll just get to it here, but was there any questions around there? Two of them were pretty prompt, returning. I guess because it's easy to say no or something, but the two that we didn't get came back in record time. And that's the Hydro 1 grant that we applied for the town hall roof. And then the Trillium grant that we applied for the Oak Street Park, Oak and George Park. So we did get results back from them, but other than that, we're still waiting on some other ones there. Did you have anything to add to that, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, just to summarize the chart. So there are 5 grants still in play. And we reviewed the criteria of those grants, and 4 of the 5 clearly state that we cannot commence any work until a decision has been made. So if we choose to commence, we may forfeit the grant. The 1 grant for the splash pad does indicate that we can work on a reimbursement basis. So staff has reached out to the successful bidder, and we are awaiting a start date, but that splash pad will proceed.
Perfect. Okay, Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, just like to thank Bob for that report. It's a little piece of the puzzle that was missing from our previous council meetings. So it does give us some clear guidance on the ones that we can get started right away. And hopefully Ryan's right on board there, and we look forward to hearing back from him on the next steps. The Patterson project here in the corner of Oak and George Street, we weren't successful there, but we have budgeted money. So again, that would be nice to hear from Ryan what his next steps are for that project.
Okay, Ryan, are you there? I've got a different screen up today, so I can't really see 100%. I'm trying something different, but I don't know whether it's working or not. So Ryan, are you on the screen?
Yep.
Okay. Could you answer at all with regards to the park and the splash pad?
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, to Councilor Ellis's comments. Yeah, we have completed a design last year for the property at corner of Oak and George, and we've been reaching out to contractors trying to get bids finalized and get the construction schedule confirmed for this year for the corner of George and Oak. And as Bob mentioned, I've been in contact with ABC Recreation regarding the splash pad and that project. So we're just working on finalizing a construction schedule for that project. So yeah, so I'll be bringing a formal update to council once we've confirmed those dates.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ryan, you mentioned reaching out to different contractors here for the Oak and George project. I guess I'm concerned, not concerned, but we have several local contractors that do that type of work, and maybe at your next report, we could hear who you've reached out to and get some information back on that for council.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I'll bring a more formal report once we've got those construction dates in place, and I'll update council with that information.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Okay. All right then. So if there's no other questions with regard to that, I'll look for a motion to receive the reports. Moved by Councillor Webb. Seconder. Do I have a seconder for the Deputy Mayor Giroux? Any questions or comments around that? All in favor? and that's carried. Okay. Our next is staff reports with follow-up action, and the first item on there is the international truck here that was surplus, or it's actually being used, but go ahead, Peter.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin and members of council. The purpose of this report is to provide a council update on the International Workstar Unit 1041 and to receive direction from council on the two options listed on the report.
Okay, all right then. So there's two options there, and I'll open it up to council. What's your thoughts here with regards to the two options available there? Anybody have any comments? Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, and then Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Because we're in budget deliberations here and looking at costs and numbers, I guess if I look at what we pay, for an example, to get support for the roads department from, for an example, Mr. Drain, would it be wise if we looked at those numbers at what we're paying out and we keep this truck? Would that be a trade-off in cost? If we use the truck versus hiring support.
Okay, Peter.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Since the truck is already in the township's ownership, yes, it would be economical to use our own equipment for sure. If I don't know the exact numbers, what the difference would be right now, Councillor Ellis, but it would definitely be a cost savings, yes.
So that might be one factor in making the decision here, whether we keep or sell this truck, because although I don't have the numbers fresh in my head, but I know there were some significant costs for hiring versus having our own vehicle if we kept it.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Kind of echoing Councillor Ellis's comments. The truck is presently on the road today. I think we've used it a number of 10 times, and I don't mean 10 days. When it goes out, it's probably out for 3 or 4 days because we have the truck broken down. So without the truck, it's certainly going to cost us a lot of money. We spent quite a bit of money on the truck to put it on the road. And to sell it now to gov deals, we wouldn't even get our money out of it. So once again, I prefer to keep the truck. I would like to keep the truck until we order a new one, because once you order a new one, you're a year and a half out before you get it. So I don't know whether we order a new one next year or when it is. I haven't got those years in front of me, those dates in front of me. But I think it would be a bad decision if we were to get rid of this truck. It's been a lifesaver this winter, really. And I don't think I'm far off, Peter. If I am, you better tell me. At least 10 times we've had to use that truck this winter.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, that's correct, Deputy Mayor Giroux. It's been at least 10 times. And yeah, it's again right now our second newest truck, 2019. The PTO drive shaft to the hydraulic pump failed yesterday, so it's again in the shop. So it's out. 1041 is out on the road right now today. So
I think that's some of the discussion we've had in the past. At one time, I would never be for saving these trucks, but what we seem to be seeing in the last few years or few trucks that we've received is the new technology isn't always as good as the old stuff. And I'm more worried about minimum maintenance and trying to keep going with plow trucks. And like I think along with what Deputy Mayor Giroux said, with what we've got invested in the truck, I know the county's a lot bigger than us, but they do keep one. And it's not like we couldn't use it for water and stuff, or even moving snow within the village. You know, the single axle won't do that. There's lots of uses for it, and for what we're getting for it, I think it would be, personally, I would recommend that we keep it. And I even like the idea of keeping it till we purchase the next truck, because with the way supply is right now, we may not get another truck for a while anyways, if things don't change real quick. So even if you ordered it, I think next year we're due for a new one. I think that's what the replacement schedule says, but it just seems like we have a lot of issues, but go ahead, Peter.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. That's correct. So in next year's budget, we'll probably bring the 2014 Western Star up for replacement. As I'm aware, and Deputy Mayor Giroux also has stated that I've been told it's over 2 years to by the time you order the truck. I've been told it's 1.5 years for cab and chassis, and over 2 years by the time Viking gets all the equipment on it for plowing. So 2014, the life expectancy of the Western Star is 10 years. So that is kind of where we're thinking of bringing in next year's budget in 2023 to be prepared for the replacement of the next vehicle.
So for today, like, recommendation that you have for number 2 is that we keep it until further notice, even if we don't put in the date of keeping it till the next truck. But we could, well, I think that one does say the next scheduled replacement date. So yeah, there is an option there. That's the one I would probably go with if it was, if it was me, but it's up to council here. If somebody wants to come up with a recommendation here.
For you, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor?
Palmer. Okay, Councilor Palmer, then Councilor Ellis.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. If it takes 2 years to get a new truck, why wouldn't you order one now and then we'd have one in 2 years?
We can talk about that in budget discussions. That's
Well,
an
but I
option.
mean, it only stands to reason that if you wait another year, well, then the truck's gonna be full of repairs, the same as the one that we're gonna keep. How many $100,000 did we spend on repairs on our spare there now? And we all have the same opinion. We got to get rid of it. We got to get rid of it. Now, all of a sudden, we got to keep it. Well, what's it going to cost us? Nobody knows, but I think we already made a motion a way back that we sell it. But the big thing is, if we're really looking at 2 years out, maybe a new truck should be. We should be getting some quotes for a new truck. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know. It's that it's one of the things that we really need. There's some things on the wish list there that we don't need. And you got to look after what we have.
Okay. All right then. Thank you. Yeah, Councilor Ellis, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion to opt option 2. But I would like to add into that motion to have our manager of public works report back with a cost savings initiative by keeping the truck versus hiring out. What cost savings could be recognized if he can plan that truck is his to keep and utilize it versus hiring out. If we could have that in a report at a further time, Pete. But I would make the option 2 a motion.
Okay. All right. So Councilor Ellis is going to move the second option 2 with an update on the costing. Deputy Mayor Giroux, did I go over? Did you have your hand up?
You're muted, Dave.
I will second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Giroux is seconding it. Is there any comments or questions around the motion? See, go ahead, Councilor Pomeroy.
Can you read us that motion? I can't hardly hear Larry or Bob, but anyway.
Okay. Bob, or
yeah.
Well, it's the option 2 there that council directs staff to keep the truck for the Public Works Department to use until the next scheduled replacement date. And I think Councilor Ellis added on there that we come back with a costing. Maybe you can word that, Larry.
Yeah, a report back from our public works manager with a cost savings initiative by keeping the truck versus some of the rentals that we have been experiencing this winter. or summer. So if he
Okay.
can, in other words, if he has that truck and he can plan on it, put it in use versus picking the phone up and hiring Mr. Drain, for an example.
Okay, so there's the motion, and I have a mover and a seconder. Is that good there, Councillor Pomeroy? You got that?
Yeah, I got that. I
Okay.
don't,
Okay. So I'm gonna call a question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
I don't know whether you've seen him, but Dave had his hand up here.
No, that was, I think it was an advance vote. I hope.
No,
Oh, was it David, oh, sorry, was that David Treasurer?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, David. Sorry about that.
My top buttons are working, but the question is, what timelines do you want associated with selling or versus contracting out versus buying?
Can't hear you.
What timelines do you want associated with this in terms of the report, in terms of contracting out versus
Okay,
buying?
Dave, sorry, I guess Dave's mic's not working very well there, but he's looking for a timeline regarding the report
Oh, in terms of years?
in terms of years.
Yes.
I guess what I anticipated was for our Public Works manager to look at the rental that he has been paying to this date. And if he utilized the vehicle that we're keeping now, how would that eliminate some or all of the rentals when it comes to using a truck from Drains? So does that answer your
Yes,
question,
yeah, it
Dave?
does, yeah, helps me fair, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Thank you, Mayor Martin. Just so I'm not confused. And we walked around this, and maybe I confused myself. So Peter, I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to answer, don't answer. If you didn't have that truck today and you'd probably be using it for the next couple of days, is it fair to ask you what to hire a truck out today per hour, what it costs?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to answer Deputy Mayor Joel, I do not have an exact cost on an actually set up plow truck equipped with sanders and so forth. But I do know an hourly rate from Drains is just over $100, $101, I believe, per hour on a rental triaxle. That's not equipped for plowing and sanding. So I can only think that the cost for a rental truck, if there is any available to even rent, would be higher than $101 per hour.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, so Peter can bring back that report. I think the big thing here is the minimum maintenance for snow plowing is going to be the big thing here as far as trying to find a plow truck to plow the roads. If we don't have one, I think will be the bigger cost. So that would be something to find out. But so moving forward, we voted on option 2 and it was carried. And we'll look forward to some more information coming back at a future meeting there in the near future. And with some things that the advantages of doing this, Peter. Okay.
Thank you.
All right then. So our next item on here is the Economic Development Officer, Community Coordinator position. Bob's prepared a summary here. So this goes back to a meeting a couple of meetings ago. So what's council's thoughts here? Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
yeah, maybe I don't understand this, but as far as having an economic development officer, we can't grow the municipality because of our water and sewage. While we have water, that's no problem, but the sewage, and we're not going to have for another 3 years. We can't build on that within the village. So what would an economic development officer be doing?
Bob, did you want to answer that?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So as detailed in the report, this person would be assigned duties to work with our Economic Development Committee, establish economic development activities, also establish communication activities throughout the township to help communicate decisions of council and activities of the township.
So, yeah, and to go along with, even though it's a small part of it, the housing, things like that, I know I've been working on some stuff that I think it would be more suited for an economic development officer to talk to these developers. And they would have all the information and it would be done correctly, but it's a small part of it. As far as right now, we are growing, and this is just to replace the position that we had. And it's shown over the last couple of years how much I know Bianca is overloaded right now with some of the stuff she's doing, and there's no way we can continue that way. So this will take care of all that and get us back on the right track, I think. So, so it's up to council. Go ahead, Art.
And just further to that, Jim, there's the economic development side, but the community, I think the community planner is going to be somewhat big moving forward, because we've come out of 2 years of essentially nothing going on in our township. And hopefully once things open up this summer, we're going to have things like Celebrate Havelock, our Canada Day Festival, other little things like maybe if we're having the fishing derby again. These are all things they're going to have to be coordinated by staff. And, you know, our staff right now is stretched pretty thin. So, I mean, if we want things to be happening in this community, whether it's economic development, a rebranding strategy, something like that, or on the other side, we want to have events like Celebrate Havelock, whatnot. We're going to have somebody that's going to be there to put in time. We can't just keep continuing to put it on the backs of our other employees and say, you know, I know you have a job, but by the way, here, I need you to do this for me too. So, which is what we've been doing for the better part of probably a year and a half. So.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? I don't know if Larry's hand was up there. Yeah, Larry, and then Dave.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a flag.
Yeah, Councillor Ellis does have his hand up, yes.
I'm gonna get a flag. Anyway, just a couple of comments. The third bullet in the description of the work here indicates planning. And I see the economic development person use that term. Planning would be part of that job responsibility, working with ours and planning items for the future. And that's what I see this job, economic development person, as Councilor Pomeroy has said in the past and has stated this morning, like we're kind of restricted and limited, but I see this job as planning stuff for the future. Because as we all know, when you make anything of any size happen in our municipality, it's a time-consuming thing. It talks 2 to 3 years out sometimes. So that's how I see this person, as a person that's helping planning. I would not want to see this person get tied into doing lots of little wee things that probably the managers of different departments should be doing. We don't want him to become him or her to become a Joe boy person that you just keep dumping little things up. We've seen that in the past, and we don't want that for the future. But that's how I see this job, as something that's planning our area for the future. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then. Is there any other comments? If not, I'll look for a motion for direction here for this position. Councilor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to have a meeting where I could hear everybody, and it's kind of garbled, you know, on this end. I don't know how it is with Deputy Mayor Giroux or Councilor Webb, but I can hardly understand Larry or Bob.
Okay.
It is a little hard to hear, Jim.
Okay. Have you got your volume turned up on your computers? Because I'm not having any trouble. But
I can hear you fine. I can hear Hart fine. I can hear Dave fine, but I can't hear Larry or Bob. You know, it's garbled. I can't.
Okay.
If I could just, the last 1 minute there, Mayor Martin, just my comments were around this economic
Can you speak
development
right in?
person.
Can you try
that-
speaking right in? Larry, could you just try speaking right into the mic? I know you got your
That's
mask.
what I'm doing. I got it almost in
Okay.
my mouth there.
There is a
Anyway,
volume.
Anyway, my comments were around the economic development person, involved more in planning as well. I also stated that I feel that it's something that's needed here, and as well, it's a position that's planning for the future. As Councillor Pomeroy has stated in the past, we're at our limit here pretty much for expansion, but this job would be planning for the future, things that we want to do that always takes 2 to 3, 4 years out. But this person would be involved with that kind of stuff, and I just wouldn't want to see the person gets bombarded with all kinds of little things that maybe department heads should be doing themselves. Don't become a Joe boy type of job that we've seen happen in the past. So looking to the future and planning with economic development in mind, I think that's how I see this job. And one last comment I want to make is I see where we established a pay grid here. And I'm thinking sometimes the pay grid needs to be a little higher, and it'll attract better people.
Okay. All right then. So for today's meeting, we do have, what's on the schedule today. And yeah, and I know I can speak to Celebrate Havelock. We are moving ahead with Celebrate Havelock this year, but it has been a challenge to try and the former economic development officer was really involved in Celebrate Havelock, and it has been hard to keep it moving, managing, but I'm trying not to push the stuff on the staff. They've helped me a little bit, but because I do sit on that committee. But anyways, is there any other comments around this? And then I will have to get a motion. Deputy Mayor Dro, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I will not repeat. I will appreciate, I'll say this, I'll appreciate Councillor Webb and Councillor Ellis's comments. I won't repeat them. We've just went through an aqua presentation that's going to take some time. Planning, it's planning. We got to plan for the future. I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation if that's what they're asking for, to move forward with this recommendation of the.
Okay. So we have a mover. So we have a mover. Deputy Mayor Dro is moving that we move ahead with the position. And Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna second that, Jim.
Okay, and then we have a seconder. So speaking to the motion, is there any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, I just have one comment. If we'd have been this expedient with our expansion of the sewage treatment plant, we'd have been on board today. We'd have been able to go ahead.
Okay. All right then. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, so next we're going to move into correspondence, and there isn't any for today. And there is an information item, and it's with regards to the community recognition or Peterborough County Recognition Awards. I know Dave sits on that committee at the county. It's coming real quick, and this is the first one that we haven't had one in 2 or 3 years here, and it's in Cavan Monaghan in May. So it's to get people to put in their recommendations for this for the awards there for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And hopefully they can have their, once again, limited staff, make sure the applicants have everything done, and because we won't be able to fill them out. So hopefully they can get their information in complete and get it into the county. And that's where they'll be selecting who gets picked for the award. There's only a certain number in each category. So that's it for correspondence. So we're going to move into the 2022 budget discussions. Now, we do have a closed session, and I would like to be done by noon, but is everybody okay to take a 5-minute break here, and then we'll move into the budget discussion here for a few minutes? And it's going to be a high level look at the public works to finish with what we had last week with the rest of the budget process, and then we'll be starting to meet with staff and go over some of these things that are in there to try and see what's needed and what we can go without for a little bit. So is council okay to take a 5-minute recess here or break, and we'll come back at 20 after? So Deputy Mayor Giroux moved that and Councillor Webb seconded it, and all in favor. So we'll come back at 20 after, and we'll get on with this and try and get her finished. All right then. So we'll resume the meeting. I'll look for motion to resume the meeting. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so we're going to move into the budget discussions here with regards to the public works portion that we didn't get to last week. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you, and Peter.
Okay, can you share my screen?
Do you know how to do it?
It should be okay.
What's that green button? Share screen.
Got it. Here's here as well. Good. Okay, everyone. We're now about to step through the largest part of the budget. Peter, or our Public Works Department, represents over 50% of our operating budget year over year. It's this way historically, and it's safe to say it's going to be that trend is going to continue going forward. Purpose of this is a high-level, top-down viewpoint across all expenses, whether it's operating or capital, and it's a chance for Peter, our department head, councillors, to give us their feedback, and also to keep in mind our public's feedback through the survey. So on that note, we'll step through left to right. We're going to start with roads, and then we're going to go into waste, and then we'll go to water, and then sewer. Should be able to wrap this up relatively quickly, but if there's any feedback on again, the needs and the wants list, now would be the time. As the next meeting, we're going to be drilling down on what it means to the overall budget. So starting off with the roads budget, I'm going to go bottom up, if you will, on this one, just to give you a sense of where we are year over year. Scrolling down. So overall, operating, we're looking good. If you look at year over year changes. When we get into the capital expenses, well, that's where things get interesting, and then we have to separate needs and wants and what everyone feels their priorities are. Historically, operating year over year is relatively consistent or flat. Our 2021 actuals are low, but budgeting has been 709, 680,000, and then 722,000 is what we've allocated for 2022. Where things get change is when we get into roads project expenses and roads capital expenses. So unless there's any questions on the operating, I'd like us to drill down to the projects and then the capital expenses, as that's where the uptick or differences this year.
Okay. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead, and then Councillor Webb.
I'm gonna have to come down to the office because I can't hear this. I don't know about you, but.
Okay. All right, we can.
Give me 2 minutes and I'll be there.
All right then. Just keep in mind that we have to be done. So
Dave, what page are you on?
we are on the roads budget. Be the last page right now. We'll start at the top as well. So that would be page 16 that I'm on, but we'll yes. So we'll let Barry catch up here as we go, unless there's any objections. Right now, we have a blend of reserves, grants.
Just a minute, Hart had a question there, David, or comment. Go ahead, Hart.
Sorry, David, this is back where where you were on operating. I was just wondering why the 2021 operating was so low.
Low because of course, everyone's complacent with COVID, but we didn't get what we budgeted completed in the 21 budget versus 21 actuals. Now, it's worth noting that the 21 actuals are actually approximations, as these are not audited yet by our accountants. So on that note, if Peter is here with us, maybe he could shed some light as to what didn't get finished and what's getting pushed over to 2022.
Okay. So, you know, while we're waiting for Barry, there was a question here from Terry Reese. I just wonder, Bob or David, the draft of the budget, is it publicly available? It's online. It will be online, right?
Yes, we'll definitely.
Today's over. That's when it'll go over to online, or is it on there now?
It's, Bianca, can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, it'll be on there today. We did receive some new information this morning from the treasurer. So the information that we are reviewing today it will all be online by the end of the day. And we will also be going forward having a public meeting to allow for public comment before the final budget is adopted.
So maybe that's something. So the schedule that we had prepared there, I know we were adjusting a little bit by trying to get these things, like trying to speed it up a little bit. So the up-to-date schedule, will that be online today too?
Yes, we can do that.
Just to show when the public input is, because I know there is some that are looking for still having their chance. So, you know, as long as they know about it and it's advertised well.
So hard to answer your question, if we look at the OMPF and what we accounted for in the budget versus what actually got finished, that's a gap. We had 291,000 budget out of the OMPF to be used and didn't get these things done. It's been earmarked again for 2022. So Peter will be able to give us more light as to what's being pushed over, what got done, and where the priorities lie going forward. But I'll step down here, going through.
Art had a question there, and I just just going to answer. I'm just kind of killing some time here till Barry comes too, because we don't want to do too much. But the survey results, Terry, they were received at the last meeting, but we'll make sure that they're included with everything else for the budget. You know, so everybody can see what was already asked, so there's no duplication.
Sounds
okay.
good.
Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, it was just on like for the grants you're talking about, Dave, is that covered under the operating expense for those projects?
It depends whether it's operating or whether it's capital, but primarily it's capital driven. Councilor.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, my question was just basically about the 2021 actual for operating is 307, where we budgeted 679.
Correct.
So I'm just wondering, did we just not drive the trucks around? I know gas wasn't that low, so we didn't save any money on gas. So I'm just wondering why we're less than half of what we budgeted for.
Yes, again, we'll let Peter, the department head, answer where the trucks went, what got done, what didn't get done.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I can jump in to answer Councillor Webb. The year, I would have to say the year is just like any other previous year. I just don't think the actuals are complete and all in date because we haven't changed any of our operations on our schedules from year to year since I've been in the position. So I think we just need to update the actuals and get everything all accounted for. As is the only thing carried forward. All our road jobs were completed, as in the capital, like Old Norwood Road, Sawmill Bay Road, Round Lake Road, the 11th. They were all completed last summer. So a lot of those projects were under budget by a little bit, which was great news. In the capital on the coverall billing was carried forward in the roads department. I hope that sums up some of the questions for you, Councillor Webb.
Yeah, I guess so, Peter. I'm just, as I said, like we're 307. I guess we didn't get some of the work done, but then we're budgeting for back up to 722 this year. So if we're carrying a lot of that stuff forward from 2021, I mean, we're doing probably a half a year's work in 2022. Are we going to get all this other work done in 2022 as well? It seems like a lot of work. We're jamming in probably a year, 2 years work into 1 year here. Unless I'm confused on this.
So I'm back in the summary tab here. The summary tab, if you look at revenue, operating, projects, capital. The difference here, or the gap, is in the operating expenses. We'll certainly vet that and make sure that 307 versus the 679. Now, it's not to say that the 679 was over budgeted. That will be determined as we go forward. The two highlights here right now that need to be discussed are the projects and the capital expenses. And going over the wish list, again, the wants and the needs. So I'd like to focus on those two parts here. Scrolling up into the projects, Peter, do you want to speak about the projects in 2021 versus 2022?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I can speak to the projects there. As stated in the report, I don't know if you want me to go down through all of them. I don't know how much time we have. A few of them I'd like to see completed would be the Round Lake Road, the completion from Dance Hall or the North 7th line over to the 6th line to complete Round Lake Road. Old Nord Road again to complete it from Concession Street, Highway 30 over to the 10th concession would complete that road. And the other big ticket item there in the capital would be going through our roads needs study is the 3rd line from end to end. We have done some work on that in the last 2 years. The 2 main culverts have been replaced and the bridge has been replaced. I think it was 4 to 5 years ago. But there's still going off the roads needs study, the current study that's coming in at just over 810,000. And that's end to end. That's all culvert stitching, road base, cloth where needed, and either surface treatment or ultra thin asphalt, whichever is council's wish.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Webb.
Sorry, I'm trying to follow this and I dropped my sheets. Pete, the projects that you listed there that you wanted to get done were 8th line, Round Lake, Old Norwood. And am I missing one?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Webb. It's Old Norwood to complete, to finish. Round Lake Road to complete and finish, and third line, third concession. Yes.
Okay, so 3rd line. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Peter.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we went through that page there. It's page 11, I think, of 15 is the capital expenses, and that is Peter's wish list, I guess you could call it. And those things will be discussed later as far as what's going to stay and what isn't. If you look at that list there's a lot of carryovers. There's a few carryovers on there from last year, so the money was carried, it's in a reserve, and it's coming forward to this year. And then the new things are what Peter just talked about with regards to the 3rd line and finishing up some of these roads around here. So if we want to add more, that's when we'll dive into some of our funding and see how we can pay for these things. But right now, I guess you could call this, a lot of this section here is a wish list, and we'll see where it falls out in the end. For today, it's just putting it on the table so everybody can see it. So I'll turn it back over to David, and we'll.
Sure, thank you. We're on page 11. 11. Yes, please. Yeah. So top 10, this is a key critical point, is now we have a budget that's year over year, it's gone up substantially. Now, to Hart's point, if we look at this budget versus actual, 1.4, excuse me, 1.4 versus 1.2, and the issue we have here 2.3. Excuse me. excuse me. So I'd like to go top down and really get some real feedback here as we go to the next step and we start to drill down to the bottom line. Third line. Can I have people's consensus on third line and the earmarked 810,000? Are people on board with this expense?
Yeah, I think we have to get some information from Peter on that one.
Peter, can you jump in on the third line, please?
Yes, for sure. Through you, Mayor Martin. The third line again comes through our roads needs study. It is the first road in the priority listing on the roads needs studies. That's why I brought it forward to budget.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. So that's kind of our, we have to follow is our roads needs study for the most part. So so there it is. So, okay.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Dave or Peter, I guess to Peter, on that same third line, so I look at the schedule here, does that tell me that there was nothing budgeted in 2021 for the third line?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. No, there was no budget in 2021. It was 2020 when we replaced the culverts. That was through a federal gas tax grant that we replaced the culverts. We did that in-house ourselves, the federal gas tax, and we had quotes up to $90,000 on the culverts replacement. We did that in-house, and you can see where we come out there. We had a fair bit of savings there on that culvert replacement, the two large culverts. But no, there was nothing budgeted in 2021, and as the budget going forward for 2022 is the 810,000.
Okay.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, so carry on, David.
Thank you. Moving along to the North Shore Road. Budget allocated for that and this year is 67,000 approximately. Peter, could you give some background on North Shore Road, please?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. That is the culvert replacement at Bottle Lake. The culvert, the bottom is gone. It's failed. The culvert is needing to be replaced. I just have received that quote from a local contractor, and there's being a lake, there'll be some permits, MNRF, Crow Valley, and so forth. Some dewatering and pumping to control the water flow. So it's quite an extensive culvert to replace, but it is failed and it does need to be replaced. We had numerous problems with it backing up and flooding some of the shores on Bottle Lake this past year.
Okay. All right then.
Okay, move on. Okay, now we're going to go on to the Burn Dam Bridge. Peter, if you will.
Yes, and I'm through you, Mayor Martin. I might ask Bob for a little help on this as well. But we did recently have a meeting on the Burn Dam Bridge with the County of Peterborough. So this is half of the cost to the bridge to upgrade it, the repairs needed to make it a snowmobile ATV safe crossing. DM Wills has the report of a $280,000 repair. The county is currently wanting to offload the Burnt Dam Bridge, and we are in communication and discussions with the local snowmobile clubs and to see what we can come up with. But this would be half of the cost to repair the Burnt Dam Bridge. The Peterborough County has already passed in their budget of $140,000 as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter. We're moving on now to two ongoing road rehabs, if you will. There's Round Lake Road and there's Old Norwood Road. You can see the budget versus the actuals that are year over year. Performance has been good. We're now looking to finish these two roads at 2.5 kilometers and 1.5 kilometers The budget allocations again for Round and Old Norwood are 230 and 215,000 for this year.
And
do you
Peter,
want
so Peter, that's the new surface treatment too. That's not just the what we've done in the past. That's the new.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, that would be the new ultra thin asphalt that the other what we did last year basically is, and we continue on with the new ultra thin asphalt to complete those roads with the same surface. Yes.
Okay. All right then.
any other questions on those two projects?
No question, just a comment, Peter. I think we're very wise to continue on with that surface that we used on the other part of the Round Lake Road. Our other treatments that we've done in the past, we'd have been hole patching by now, and that road has stood up really good. So I think we're wise by continuing on with that treatment.
Yep.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, I've received some very good compliments on that surface with the new ultra thin asphalt. Like I said, the last year's budget, it is a little bit more expensive, but I think due to repairs and maintenance, I think, and lifetime expectancy, I think it's well worth it. So, we did do our due diligence there and put in some good road base and the geotextile fiber as well to, to support the road base and give it some good structure. So yes, I think that's is a wise thing. Yes.
Okay, Councillor Webb, you had a question?
Yeah, just a question on the Fish Hatchery Road contingency. I see we got 50,000 and we had 50,000 last year. Is that the total that we have in that fund right now, or is it more than 100,000?
It's 50, I think, just carried over, Hart.
Oh, he's just carrying. Okay, I'm just wondering because I know the people of Fish Hatchery Road are waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because our plan is to continue on and at some point have ownership there, if it would be wise to add another 50,000 in the contingency for 2022.
Okay. I think that'll be a discussion as we move forward. That if David could make note of that, that'll come up, I'm sure, when we start trying to figure out how we're going to pay for the other roads. But keep that thought there, Larry, and we'll see what we can do. Right.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Webb, go ahead, and then.
Yeah, just to Councillor Ellis's point, I think it's a good idea that, maybe it's something we can't do because we haven't started breaking down the numbers, but if we can, moving forward, to at least show the government or whatever agency we're hoping to partner with on this project here that we are putting money away and ready to go. So I would agree with Councillor Ellis on that.
So just a note, Dave, Drew, I can't see you on the screen when we're sharing it. Maybe when you speak, it'll come up, but right now I can't see you. So if you have something, just yell. So go ahead, David. Treasurer David, go ahead and we'll move on.
Okay, very good. We're now on the Smith Drive, year over year. We got the work done, 21 versus 21 actuals, or at least what was earmarked. There's now another $40,000 for the budget for 2022. Peter, can you enlighten us to what the circle of work is that is remaining?
Yes, through Mayor Martin. So last year, we went out for quotations to finish the surface, the top lift of asphalt, lift all the manholes and catch basins, and which was completed, but there wasn't. We needed a little bit extra there for the north sidewalk and the curb infills and some topsoil and so forth there. So that is where the 40,000 is. It is a little high, but we don't want to be short on that again. So we want to make sure we have enough in the budget to complete the north sidewalk this summer.
Okay.
I'll move on then to three smaller capital expenses, which are a sander, a V-plow, required for pickup. And then we have some hand tools that have been earmarked in this budget. Peter, I'll pass it over to you.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, the sander and the plow is well used. But I know we did replace an addition, and not replace, we added last year. This was the original plow, V-plow and sander in the back of the 1548, the 3/4 ton pickup. And timing, life expectancy, everything would make sense as there is 2 new pre-approved 3/4 ton trucks to upgrade, replace the sander and the V-plow for just removing, sell the original on the truck that's there with, you know, the 1548, the sander and the plow will go with that truck. And instead of switching it over, we've had the plow it'd be 2013, I think. So we're coming up on 10 years with the V plow and the sander, slide and sander in the back. So.
Okay. All right. Carry on, David.
Thank you. We're moving on now to the sign inventory project. Peter, 17,000.
Yes. So we reached out through our mesh software through Advantage Data that was last year in last year's budget. It was budgeted for 7,000 last year. It came in an actual, that is definite actual of 4,600 there. And the 17,000 is to have data advantage to come and replace all of our signs that currently are not meeting the MMS. So that's where the 17,000 comes. And then all that information will be downloaded onto our mesh system. So it'll be at your fingertips. So we'll know exactly the life expectancy, the reflectometry, and to keep up with the minimum maintenance standards.
Very good. And we're moving on to a carryover, which is the cover all building. 25,000 was earmarked in the budget for 21. It's noted as carry forward this year. Peter?
Yes, that's through you, Mayor Martin. That is something that was discussed last year, and we've carried it forward this year with the intent of possibly utilizing that coverall building up in behind the property off of Concession Street that was just recently purchased this summer. So.
Okay. All right.
Can
Barry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Barry.
Yeah, further to that, what are you gonna put in there, Peter?
Through you, Mayor Martin, depending on the size of the building when we get into the design, but we could use it for the backhoe, grader, some of the stuff that gets left outside, the attachments for the sidewalk machine, and in a 1/2 ton or 3/4 ton, you know, if needed.
Okay.
No, I just wondered, because if you're gonna build a new building, I can't see why you would need a coverall.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, exactly, Councillor Palmer. I just don't know what the design of the new building is yet. So if it doesn't work out that we have a big enough building to fit the some of the attachments and the grader, that would be a nice option to have our equipment covered.
Don't forget, we still have the 6th line, you know, and until we get rid of it too, but it could all come together. I can't see, you know, like the grader's been out since we bought it brand new. And that's the only thing that really sits outside. We've purchased another building and we could put some of our smaller stuff in there. I don't know, a coverall to me spoils the appearance of a new building and yard building to begin with. You know, if you're gonna build and do it right.
That could be a few years out, that's all. But that's good for discussion later as far as, you know, that's budgeted last year. It's not new money, that's carryover from last year. So if there's a thing that we need it, you know, we can pull it out of there. But right now, it's just a carryover from last year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, quickly to Peter. That building still has the previous owner's big sign on it. I've had just a few general comments. Why don't you just take that sign down? It's your building. So I'm just passing those comments on. Maybe we could look at removing the signage there.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, to Councillor Ellis. We currently have company in Peterborough actually right now working on a price and getting that sign replaced.
Thank you.
Okay, carry on, David.
Okay, very good. I'm highlighting the last 4 items here, which are capital expenses, which does account for $800,000 last year versus this year. So this is where things change and where we get the percentage increase year over year. So I'd like to go top down. I can lead off with the 2 3/4 ton trucks that were already approved for this year's budget. So I'd rather not spend time on that unless there's any objections, and look at the last 3, which is the tire excavator, the snow plower for the backhoe, and the front end loader. Peter, can you comment on those 3 additional?
Yes, I can, through you, Mayor Martin. The excavator, I guess, would be a versatile, well-used machine. It would be from brushing to grass cutting to our road reconstruction, our ditching, culverts, water leak repairs. To note with that, I think it would be utilized fairly year-round, with our brushing possibly being done in the winter due to the conservation new regulations that possibly are coming out. So it would see some use year-round. Definitely is one of the higher equipment pieces that we rent on an annual basis. So if we had the right attachments, it could do from our roadside mowing to our brushing to, like I said prior. So the snow blower, that was brought to me by some members of council, and some of our neighboring townships are using it. And so I just thought I'd bring a price in there just to see what it actually is a cost on for the snow blower, which would go right on the front of the backhoe, and then it'd be much easier, faster to load trucks on snow removal in the village. And the front end loader, again, it's another piece of equipment that we rent, mainly used in the winter. I'm sure we could find some uses for it in the summer as well. Like sweeping would be an example. You know, we could put the broom on the front of it. But with that being said, we rent one every year. We have, I think, for the last 5 or 6 years, and we have it for 4 months a year. The rental cost is $5,000 per month on the rental unit. So just a quick overview.
Yeah, and so those 3 items are something that I really recommend council talk to Peter about. He can go over, the numbers there on, what he would be using it for. And the decisions will be made at our future meeting. But it's one of those things that, if you ask if they're want or needs, he wouldn't have put them on there if they weren't wanted. But as far as what's needed and what isn't, that'll be something for council to decide how we would ever pay for it. But there's some things there to get us moving forward, and good idea. And I thank Peter for that. But when we get down to paying for all these things, that'll be where it falls out as far as how we could ever do it. So for today, they're on the table. They're on the table, and if there's any questions for Peter with regards to that, any detail would be better to speak with Peter directly, and he can explain a lot of it to you.
Just a quick question to Peter on the snow blower. The sidewalk plow that we have presently has a snow blower on it. Would this item be doing the same function as the sidewalk plow snow blower?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Ellis's question, no, the snow blower on the sidewalk machine, it does load snow. We do have the extended chute, and we've used it more this year than ever. in the past. But no, this snow blower is substantially larger. The top of my head, I want to say it's 8 feet wide. So it's taking like a lane, like a one pass on a boulevard. Your boulevard would be done, completed. It's quite efficient for sure. And again, in the backhoe, you're going to be able to see where your snow is going compared to the sidewalk machine. You're kind of blind on the sight lines there where you're blowing the snow.
So we're presently using a bucket, a snow machine with a front end bucket versus what you're saying, this machine with snow blow versus loading it with a bucket.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Yeah, just further to Councillor Ellis's point, if we got that, Pete, would we not need the loaders anymore in the winter?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Webb, the loader is potentially for loading the trucks at the sand storage building, Councillor Webb. So it would be quite nice to keep the loader for sure. It saves a lot of time on the guys' staff's routes when they come back to reload compared to 15 buckets to put in the truck and compared to 3. So it's a huge time saver, and that is one of the main reasons why we originally started renting a loader, and then as well we use it for the snow removal in the village as well. But the blower definitely would save an enormous lot of time loading snow for sure in the village. So if that answers your question, Councillor Webb.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm going to ask you another one. Which would the guys rather have, the loader or the snow blower?
Through you, Mayor Martin, it would be the loader.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there, Barry, go ahead. Go ahead,
Yes,
Barry.
well, through you to Peter, and we've talked about this before, but the front end loader, we use it for 3 months, 4 months. We rent it, when it goes back, there's no charge for the rest of the year. If you buy one and you finance it over, say, 10 years, we'll probably own it. But every year you have maintenance on that machine. Whereas now we don't have any maintenance. When you rent it, it goes back. And it's a big outlay of money. And in fact, I think there's a rubber tire excavator, snow blower for the backhoe. That's we got a snow blower, and we got the front end loader that we rent. There's wants and needs here, and I think just because Norwood has some of this stuff doesn't mean to say Havelock has to have it, because we're not near as big as Norwood now.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. This wasn't supposed to be budget talks. I thought this was a preliminary budget. We're going to be here all day.
This is just the introduction, and then people can go and speak to Peter. He can talk to you about all the everything around these. He's got all the numbers to show, where we, there might be efficiency. So yeah, let's just carry on here. We're going to run out of time here soon. So keep working through there, and like I say, go see Peter, talk to him. This will be on our website, so everyone can look at it after today. That'll be all. This is the final thing to get done, and then we'll be moving through the process so we can work with the public on this too.
Sounds good. No, duly noted. Peter and I are cognizant of running a lean, efficient budget. Right now we're at 29% year over year. However, if we zero out these bottom 3, needs versus wants, I'll just show you quickly what it means to year over year increase. So now we're actually below budget if we strip out those 2 or the bottom 3 there for 680,000. So more to come. There's lots of flexibility here, and we're certainly listening, and we'll do what's best for HPM. So I'll move on now to waste. Top down, it's the first page of waste, March 1st. So I'll let people catch up here. Realistically, I'll start at the bottom again. Year over year, we're actually running tight budget here. 3.94% is what we have year over year. I'll give people 20 seconds to look at what it means for revenue, capital, and across our transfer stations. And then we can discuss a few highlights and move quickly here. So.
Yeah, well, we started on page 1. The summary is on page.
Okay. Okay. We'll get through this quickly as time is of the essence. Top down, Peter, is there any notables here? I'll let Peter interject. Just step in, Peter, if you have any additional insight. Other than the county changed their agreement with us, which didn't increase by much, but it's worth noting. There are some capital expenses at the 6th line. Peter, would you like to touch on what needs to happen on 6th line?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mayor Martin. I'll be brief. So we purchased 2 new 40-yard dumpsters last year. We'd like to actually create 2 new stalls for them at the transfer, so they actually have a home. So that is included in there. We have carried forward part of the scales at the 6th line. There is a county, Peterborough County price increase for the front end loading the recyclables, which David talked on. The waste connections extension was 3%, which was already approved, and that will have to be going back out for tender this fall. I think is our extension dates over at the 1st of September. So this, I'll touch briefly on the scales and a little update as well. David and myself have been working diligently on trying to get a price together for the software that needs to be input into the scales for different materials, what we're accepting and the costs as you go over the scales. So we are, we're reviewing that through the county and through all the other municipalities in the Peterborough County to come up and through David's keystone and backgrounds with the transfer stations and the costs and the revenues as well to make sure the prices are equal and fair for the residents.
Very good. That is really it. There's nothing here that changes year over year to warrant spending any more time in this preliminary discussion on our waste, unless there's any other questions from councilors.
And like I said, there's going to be an opportunity here as we move forward, just getting it on the table. We will have another public meeting, plus we have to look at the survey. And I know I just received a bunch of questions from Jack's Lake because I'm doing a meeting there this weekend and they have a lot of questions that should be referred to budget too. So, okay, so is there any other questions for today? I'm not seeing any. So I'd like to see us receive these documents and then get everything posted on the website today, hopefully, or this afternoon, and everything related to budget, so everybody can read it and see what we're up against in some areas. In some areas, it looks like we're doing good. So, okay, so Councillor Webb, you're moving that we receive this information for today.
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor, and I'll come in and see Pete. I have a number of different things earmarked on my pages here, but I'll see Peter privately on them rather than hold the committee up.
Okay, all right, so we're seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor of the motion?
All in favor.
And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. All right then. So thank you, David. We'll move on to the rest of our agenda and look forward to getting this moving. And like I say, the big thing will be the schedule so the public can see when our meeting dates are. And that meeting, we'll have to discuss the public meeting. Maybe it can be done hybrid too, because there has been some people ask if they can come in person. So similar to the other item that we had, we might want to include some flexibility in that meeting too, Bob. So, okay. All right then. So we'll move on to committee liaison reports, and the first item on here is the county council update. Dave, do you have anything there? There wasn't a lot again for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, but I guess in the end it all relates to us. So.
Well, I guess the only thing, they already know we passed the county's budget, so there wasn't really anything other than their awards and bursaries.
Yeah, and the one thing that we're working through right now today is, or tomorrow and Thursday, we're going to be discussing it more as a development fees and updating that bylaw. So anyways, there's going to be a lot of discussion over the next couple of days around that too. So, but yeah, from last week's meeting, that's pretty well. Asset management was discussed, and not too much else. So, okay, so like I say, we try to bring back what's really directly going to impact HBM, and right now it's basically general information for the whole of the county. And like Dave always says, if you want to watch the YouTube, you can watch it and get all the information if you like. So we'll try and bring back what is important. Okay. So with that, I'll get a motion to receive the county report.
Motion to receive.
Moved by seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so with the activity reports here, Councillor Pomeroy, you had the library board meeting on February 24th, and the library board minutes from January 13th there. Motion to receive those minutes. So, and if you have anything to add to it, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we see that report. Those reports, there's two of them, I think.
Okay. So motion to receive the minutes there by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor, did I see your hand up, Councillor Webb? Yep. So all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And then as far as updates from me, yeah, we met with Dave Smith again last week, and also did a firefighter certification webinar with Bob and Ray. But the main thing here is with Dave Smith is the mayors that were on that call did have some concerns around this webinar that we attended for firefighter certification, how it affects the small volunteer fire departments. So I'm sure there'll be more coming forward in the future here on that, but it is challenging when you're a volunteer department to make sure that all your firefighters are certified, because you don't know who's going to the call. It's different for the city. It has full-time firefighters, but with volunteers, this could be a challenge, but we'll work through that. So, so that's all I had that's a combination of those two meetings. So just a motion to receive those would be okay, unless you have any questions.
Motion to receive.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. So our next item on here is written or oral notice of motion. I don't have any listed here. Unless there's an oral notice of motion, we'll move on to the next, and that's new business. I don't have any new business on the agenda today. So we'll move to bylaws.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
What's that?
Through you,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Both myself and Councillor Pomeroy have an item.
Okay. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead. I didn't see
Yeah,
anything
the,
listed on here.
No, I know it's not listed, but I do have a question and the library back at Cordova. I would like Ryan to check, but they say there's only one tap back there that you can drink out of. So is the water not potable back there? If so, it better be looked after and very, very quickly, because we could have another Walkerton situation if. So, but
I hope we-
I'm just going by what, what the librarian said back there at the last meeting, and I
Okay.
just like it checked out.
I hope they didn't wait till this meeting for that, and I hope they called Ryan ahead of time. If they're waiting for now, that's not a good way of doing things. So that should be done immediately if there's a problem.
That's why I would like him to check it out.
Yeah, okay, maybe you could tell them at the next meeting that they should call Ryan if there's a problem like that, because, we shouldn't leave it for,
They have no idea. You turn a water tap on and water comes out of it, so.
okay. All right, so maybe we could have done that as a motion to ask staff to check into the water back at Cordova, moved by Councillor Pomeroy. Seconder to
Second
that,
motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ellis. Any questions around the motion? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we'll look into that. So, okay, so we don't have any bylaws.
Just,
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor,
Go
I
ahead.
have one quick one here. A few meetings ago, we requested a presence of an OPP representative to attend a council meeting. A couple of weeks back when I was on vacation, I was contacted by an OPP by the name of Chris Galaiza. I believe I'm pronouncing his name properly. He was asking, and apparently he contacted both myself, Councillor Pomeroy and Councillor Hart, wanting some feedback regarding issues. So because I was away, I emailed him and I CC'd both Councillor Hart and Councillor Pomeroy about what we felt were some issues that were not being addressed and lack of OPP presence. So I'm wondering, has there been any contact from OPP to staff about attending a meeting of council? Because they were given the information from myself, and I believe both Councillor Pomeroy and Councillor Hart replied to them as well.
Yeah, so from what I understood, he's talked to council, and you were the only one he hadn't talked to, and he had said about coming to the police services meeting and deal with it. It's a police service board thing. It's not really a council thing. So.
Well, he was the
Bob,
one that he did reach out to us and we replied. I guess I'm asking, is there going to be an OPP attend a council meeting? Has that been asked at your police service board?
Yeah, and he suggested about coming to the police service board meeting. That's where normally that gets dealt with.
Well, I think that was the problem. We've been feeding that information to OPP through your police services board with not getting much results.
So that's, I think, Bob, you can help me here, but it's, I think that's what was suggested is for you to attend the next police service board meeting, the same as Deputy Mayor Giroux does, and get your item on the table there if you like.
Well, it was given to him by email from myself and two other counselors. I don't know what more he needs.
Bob, you were at the last police service board meeting. What?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So this item was discussed at the last police services board meeting. There was a discussion about the possibility of either attending a council meeting or asking council to attend police services board. And the decision was made that the acting commander of the OPP Peterborough Detachment would reach out to the councilors involved and would have a discussion. And further to that, a decision would be made as to whether he was to attend a council meeting or possibly ask council members to attend a police services board.
So,
Thank you, Bob. There was a request at a previous council meeting to ask them to attend.
yeah, and that's what went to the police service board meeting. Normally in every other municipality, it gets dealt with at police service board. That's what the police service board is for. So he suggested that you come to the police service board meeting and you know, have a discussion there. If you want him to come to a meeting, we can see what we can do there as far as getting him to come out. But that's what was stated, and that's why I think he reached out to individuals. I know. Go ahead, Councillor Webb.
Well, just to this, I don't know if this is what Larry's getting at, but when we're in COVID and we're having these meetings, it's hard for people to get, well, I guess maybe now you can't even attend a police services board meeting if you're the public, or I guess we can as councillors, but so how are people supposed to take up these issues with the OPP? And I kind of agree with Councillor Ellis in that I don't think it's a big ask for, you know, whether it's Chris or maybe one of his subordinates to come to a meeting for 15 minutes and, you know, maybe make a presentation and answer some of our questions. Like, I understand they'd like to do it through the police services board, but the fact is it's easier for our citizens and whatnot to access it probably through our meetings. So I don't think it's a big ask, really.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's we can ask again there as far as get them to come to a meeting if that's what you want. Our meetings are open for the police service board. Anybody can come to them. We advertise them, and people do come to them. So that's how I think Deputy Mayor Giroux finds out about them, because he's not on the committee, but he comes to be informed. So anyways, and that's what it's all about. That's what I always did myself. But if you want them to come to the meeting, I guess that's what'll come at the next police service board meeting, that you request a in-person meeting. And go ahead.
Well, just to the point of that is, some of us have jobs and I can't take a day off to come to a police services board, right? And if we have it in this meeting here, people can watch it at night or can watch it the next day. It's there. Maybe you should start recording the police services board's meetings if they don't want to come to our council meetings, because at least then the public would be, you know, informed on what the police are doing in our community. Because as of right now, nobody knows. They come to me and ask, and yeah, I guess I get it from you through police services board, but you know, we haven't had a police officer come here in 5 or 6 years that I can remember, just to give us a general report of what's going on. So
what they said was it's a two-way street. You can phone them anytime you want if you want to have any questions.
I understand that we're paying them a lot of money, Jim. I don't think it's a big ask for them to come and sit here for 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. So the request is, Bob, we'll see if we can get them to come to a future meeting here, and council can ask questions that they can't ask here. That's fine. So we'll get them to come out, see when we'll get it as soon as possible, and you know, get it on video. Like maybe all the committees should be on video then, so everyone can watch them. So okay, we'll move ahead. I'll see what I can do and get them for the next one. So we better keep moving here, because we have a hard deadline here at 1 o'clock. So all right, so you want to redo that motion then, Councillor Ellis, that you request the OPP? Or I think we have it already, Bob. Do we need another one? Let's get something going here.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, I think it would be beneficial. Let's take the motion today and we'll bring it to the OPP.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Webb, that we get the OPP to attend a future meeting here as soon as possible so they can ask their questions. All in favor? And that's carried. So next we have bylaws, and there isn't any. So the confirming bylaw, I'll look for a motion to confirm today's proceedings.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. And a motion to adjourn. Welcome back, Barry.
Thank you.
We were kind of lost last time. We didn't know how we were going to adjourn. We were going to be sitting there for weeks, but thank you. So motion to adjourn by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by, do we have a seconder or are we going to stay here? Councillor Ellis, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay.